Welcome back to day 8 of the Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival, coming to you live from outside the Endler Hall on this bustling Friday evening. This is the live stream for the 8th evening concert of the festival, the first of the 3 student orchestral concerts that crown the Sicmf. It's been another wet and windy day here in the Cape of Storms, but in spite of that, plenty of warmth here in the conserve. We had a public masterclass with faculty trumpeter Marco Silva earlier this afternoon and 2 student ensemble concerts. And as we speak, faculty flute player Ekaterina Kornishina is giving a talk on the psychology of music making, how to stop making mistakes. We've just heard the Sicmf saxophone ensemble playing here in the foyer, led by Liam Burden. Last night's 7th and final faculty concert was certainly a way to cap off the first week of the Sicmf with no fewer than 4 concerti, a world premiere and a South African premiere. So let's give you a quick rundown of some of the highlights of that concert. First, the vibrant finale from the concerto for violin and cello in B-flat major by Vivaldi, with Daniel Rowland and Maya Bogdanovic soloists. Masterful playing by our 2 soloists there. So nice to read your comments on YouTube last night and to know that you enjoyed that faculty concert yesterday evening with us. Marianne, Henning, Luke and Louise, Toby, Andre, Mia, Marilee, Leon and others. Now this evening we will be welcoming our festival Symphony Orchestra to the stage under the direction of Michael Repper for 3 large works. The first is called Senza Maya by Mexican composer Silvestre Revueltas Sanchez, and that will be followed by the double concerto in A minor by our friend Johannes Brahms, with Andrei Baranov violin and Boris Andrianov cello, and finally the Symphony No. 2 in B minor by Alexander Borodin, a composer for which I have a close affinity because he was also a scientist and made important contributions both to chemistry and composition in the 19th century. And so the conservatorium here is filling up with a different audience from the previous night, friends and family of students and members of the public who are here to hear our festival symphony orchestra. Jason, over to you for a minute or two.
Hi, thank you, John. There is a buzz in the hall tonight, and I'm here with one of the people that are responsible for that buzz. Matthew, you and the rest of the saxophone choir, you performed just before the beginning of the program today. You, first of all, you were fantastic. There was a point in which you actually sounded like an oboe, and I was so impressed. So congratulations on a beautiful performance. How are you feeling?
Very excited, very happy. The performance was great. It's quite hard to say how I'm feeling now because still getting off the adrenaline from playing, but it was so fun to play with everyone. It's just such a buzz when you get a bunch of saxophonists together and play.
Yeah.
Man, it's I don't know how to describe it. It's such a great feeling because it doesn't happen often.
Yeah. I'm so glad because that was fantastic. I'm sorry, I have to tell you, it was so good. And for some of us who didn't have the opportunity to actually listen to the choir, are you guys having another performance of the music? What's happening afterwards?
Yes, we are actually performing again 12 o'clock at the community concert we're doing at Klapmuts, right? So at the Klapmuts Primary School Hall, we are having a concert there again before the festival concert orchestra again.
Great.
So if you've missed us tonight, be there at 12 o'clock. We'll be doing the whole repertoire list again. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a concert you do not want to miss out. And as you can see, some of us, we are making our way to the hall for the beginning of the program. And so while I get my seat, back to you, John.
Thanks, Jason. I hope you managed to find a great seat for this concert. And thanks for that really nice chat. It's good to hear that the saxophones have found a home here at the Sicmf because they are a sort of non-conventional classical instrument in a way. But as folks are filing into the hall, let me tell you about the first work on the program tonight by Silvestre Revueltas Sanchez. He lived from 1899 to 1940 and was a Mexican composer, violinist, conductor, and a champion of Mexican classical and folk music. He held a position as assistant conductor at the National Symphony Orchestra of Mexico and was close to fellow composer and principal conductor Carlos Chavez. But his career was blighted when he fell victim to internal politics after withdrawal of state funding in a film music project involving Chavez. Chavez's role in that project was inherited by Revueltas, which then led to an irreparable rift between the two that cost the latter his conducting position at the orchestra. And in 1937, after 2 years attempting to head a rival orchestra, Revueltas allowed his broader political ideals to take over. He joined the League of Revolutionary Writers and Artists, went off to fight in the Spanish Civil War on the communist side, and then Francisco Franco's nationalists won, and a right-wing fascist dictatorship ensued. And so a deflated and penniless Revueltas returned to Mexico and fell victim to alcoholism, and he died of alcohol-related complications during a bout of pneumonia at the age of 40, hours before the premiere of his ballet. Very bad luck. So this piece was written in 1937 in the midst of this period of personal turmoil. It's a tone poem called Senza Maya that's widely considered to be his masterpiece. And it describes the incantation accompanying an Afro-Cuban snake-killing ritual. So while I head inside the hall, here, depending on how much time we have, are two back-to-back concerto highlights from last night. The opening minutes, both of the concert piece, number 2, opus 12, by Vasily Brandt with Marco Silva, and the clarinet concertino by Weber with Yao Guang Chai. And welcome back to the interior of the Endler Hall. Now you'll notice, in contrast to the previous evenings, we have an enormous ensemble on stage. And this, as you know, is the festival's Symphony Orchestra, who are going to lead us through tonight's performance. And there's their conductor, Mike Repper, arriving on stage, fresh from his recent Grammy victory. And as I mentioned to you a little bit earlier, they're going to be playing their first work this evening by the Mexican composer Silvestre Revuelta Sanchez, called Senza Maya. A frenetic opening to this 8th concert at this year's Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival. A piece there by Silvestre Revuelta Sanchez called Senza Maya, based on a poem by Nicolas Guillet, the famous Cuban poet and fellow leftist like the composer. The poem describes the incantation that accompanies an Afro-Cuban snake-killing ritual, which would explain the very vibrant sounds, colors, sometimes jagged rhythms in that piece. And that was the first work on tonight's program with our festival Symphony Orchestra here at the Sicmf. And we move now to a more standard work from the concert repertoire. This is the double concerto in A minor now by Johannes Brahms, opus 102, and our soloists are Andrei Baranov, violin, and Boris Andrianov, cello. Now, Brahms composed this work in the summer of 1887, which incidentally is the same year as works by Dvorak and Saint-Saëns that featured at this year's festival, and this work would prove to be the composer's final work for orchestra. The concerto was partly intended to serve as a means of reconciliation between Brahms and his estranged friend, the renowned violinist Joseph Joachim. The two had fallen out as a result of Joachim's divorce, when Brahms had taken the side of his wife. And in the end, the musical gesture worked, with Joachim accepting the dedication and playing the violin part at the premiere of this piece in Cologne. The famous cellist Robert Hausmann played the other solo part, and Brahms himself conducted the first performance of this work. It's in 3 movements, kind of fast, slow, fast, allegro, andante, and vivace non troppo. And this is one of those great works that's been composed for the 2 instruments, violin and cello playing together. You may remember, if you joined us for last night's faculty concert, we heard a double concerto by Vivaldi, in which the same 2 instruments were pitched against one another. The violin and the cello played last night by Daniel Rowland and Maya Bogdanovich. And incidentally, the last time I heard this Brahms double concerto live was about 2 years ago, when Daniel and Maya played this work with the Cape Philharmonic Orchestra and Bernhard Gerle conducting in the Artscape Opera House as a benefit concert for the Friends of Orchestral Music. So it was a real treat having seen them, got to know them at the Chamber Music Festival, and then to watch them both playing this double concerto with the CPO. It was a particularly memorable concert. I remember Beethoven's Fifth Symphony was in the second half of the program that evening. In the second half of tonight's program, though, we hear music by Alexander Borodin, his Symphony No. 2 in B minor. Borodin was such a master at writing melodies, and you'll hear that later. Almost every movement is characterized by the kind of melody you might walk out with in your head as an earworm or whistling on the way home. Of course, Brahms wrote some good tunes as well, and you'll hear them in this double concerto. And so, of course, at a chamber music festival, an orchestra like this provides such a valuable opportunity for the young students and some more experienced students, even some young professional musicians, to give them the opportunity to work on these big orchestral masterpieces with top conductor, being aware of what it's like to be playing within a much larger part. Unlike chamber music, you're sort of no longer responsible for your own part or line anymore. Of course, there's still a sense of responsibility you carry, but that is shared amongst perhaps even as many as a dozen other instruments who are playing the same part as you. Now, concert master, concert mistress this evening is leading the tuning of the orchestra. Now for the second work, no doubt needed after the freneticism of Senza Maya. And so coming to you live from the Endler Hall in Stellenbosch, the third last concert of the 2024 Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival. Any moment we'll have our soloists joining us, Andrei Baranov, violin, and Boris Adrianov, cello. We've seen plenty of them on the stage this past week. Here they come. And Michael Repper, the conductor of the festival Symphony Orchestra, in this performance in Stellenbosch of the double concerto in A minor for violin and cello by Johannes Brahms. And remember, it's in 3 movements: Allegro, Andante, and Vivace non troppo. final orchestral masterpiece of Johannes Brahms that the critic Donald Tovey famously wrote as having a vast and sweeping humour requiring two brilliant and equally matched soloists. And that's certainly what we got tonight in Andrei Baranov and Boris Andrianov together, and also our festival Symphony Orchestra conducted by Michael Repper, here coming to you live from the 2024 Sicmf in the Endler Hall in Stellenbosch. I told you there'd be some great tunes in that work. The double concerto by Johannes Brahms, and a packed Endler Hall this evening. So many students who are not on the stage, their parents and friends of those who are on the stage. There's an electric atmosphere and everyone on their feet in appreciation of these two magnificent soloists who've been joining us for the week here at the festival and pulling off a remarkable performance of that masterpiece by Brahms that he wrote right at the end of his life. And an energetic and indefatigable conductor, Mike Repper, there. And what a glorious sound from the orchestra as well. Such a treat to have such large string sections for those lush, sweeping, romantic melodies. And they did so well. They can be very proud of their performance. Well, the lights are up in the hall. It's time to head out for the interval. grab a glass of wine, and I'll be chatting to a special guest. So why don't you grab a glass of wine as well and join me in 2 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Outside the Endler Hall now. My guest this evening is a violist and director, Jennifer Stum, who's appeared on some of the world's greatest concert stages, including the one just to our left. She's won many competitions and is founder and director of Illumina, a Sao Paulo-based artist collective and social equity initiative, and one of our visiting ensembles here at the Sicmf, and I'd like to chat about that in a little bit. Jennifer's also much in demand as a speaker, and I urge you to check out her viral TEDx talk entitled The Imperfect Instrument. But have a pretty perfect musician next to me. So Jennifer, welcome to the Sicmf again. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Great to be here, thank you.
Illumina, you're on, it must be very special to bring them here. It must be the first time traveling so far for many of the players.
It's definitely the first time that we have come to the African continent, and it was the first time for all the musicians. And we're so excited that now in the 10th year of Illumina that now the project has grown so much, and now we're having these opportunities to bring amazing young musicians to interact all around the world.
And it must be fascinating coming from Brazil, where many of the musicians presumably are from, to South Africa, which has many sort of similarities in some ways, socio-economically, some of the challenges our societies face.
Yeah, I think all of the young artists who are here said it was so interesting to have conversations and realize what's the same as a young musician here and what's different. I think that all four of these musicians actually are now studying in Europe. They've had the chance to go abroad to great conservatories. And I think they also had the chance to realize that, you know, they're really lucky to have these amazing experiences and to go other places and to meet such diverse, amazing, passionate musicians.
Amazing, gosh, and that's fantastic how they've been able to grow in their musicianship and musical development and now are traveling all over the world, it seems.
Yeah, that's really our vision at Illumina, that music should be something that reaches every single part of life. So education is not separate from what I do as a performing artist, or the way that a mentor interacts, and then a young artist who gets these chances can bring their knowledge to the next place, and somehow then music really connects us.
And I really appreciate that holistic view as well. And of course, that's something we've experienced so much this week at the festival, and with you as a faculty artist, having to wear so many hats as teacher, performer yourself, musician, coach, psychologist maybe at times. When you look back on this year's festival, what will some of the highlights be? Some of the things that will jump out and stand out as being very special and particular to 2024?
I mean, I think for me personally, it was actually creating this project between the Brazilian musicians and a group of young South African musicians. And we'll on Sunday be performing the final result of that project, which is bringing together Brazilian rhythm and South African rhythms and South African instruments, and we all learned how to ululate, which was very exciting. And we're using the canvas of something written in the 17th century as a way to really then bring together everybody's individual story, and that's been something so fun and special to be a part of here.
Will that be as part of the community concert on Sunday?
It will be playing at, I think, Sunday at 2 o'clock.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's very, very exciting. And interesting there how, as you say, this convergence then of styles, periods of musical history, it all kind of brings together and reminds us of our shared humanity in a way. Even though geographically or temporally over time we're separated, we are part of something so much bigger. And thank you for the amazing work you do in really driving an initiative like that.
Well, I mean, it's the greatest privilege of my life as an artist to be a part of this and to be able to, in whatever way I can, connect people and to feel connected to people.
So we're catching our breath now after this fantastic Brahms double concerto we've just heard. It's going to be your turn in just under 48 hours when we hear the Bartók viola concerto. And in this TEDx talk that I've encouraged our viewers to look at, you've described how sometimes the viola doesn't have, how should we say, the social capital, the reputation, the sparkle, if you like, of the violin or the gruffness of the cello. It inhabits this kind of middle world. Can you tell us a bit about the piece, what we should listen out for, how Bartók crafted it for your instrument?
I mean, also in that talk, I did say how disturbingly often composers write their very last piece for viola and then die. And in this case, the composer died before he finished it. So the Bartók concerto is unusual in that Bartók became gravely ill and he actually never finished the orchestration. So the viola part was finished, but then it was his student who then created, a fully fledged orchestration. And so in that way, it's always been a bit of a challenging piece. There were a lot of decisions that probably would have ultimately been made between Bartók and William Primrose, who premiered it, and in the end, Primrose had to make a lot of those decisions alone. But the piece is really special. You can really feel that it's an exploration of home, and he was a long way from Hungary at that point. He was in a hospital in New York, and it has this amazing kind of sense of reaching for the light, but keeping sort of the feet in the dark. And an incredibly beautiful slow movement, andante religioso, where you see how maybe the last imaginations of a life are coming to the forefront of his mind. And then the last movement is this wild, virtuosic kind of folk party. So I'm so looking forward to doing it.
Gosh. Was it also a Kusevitsky commission, like the Concerto for Orchestra?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
It like many viola stories, it was meant to be something that it never quite became, but it became a very important piece for all violists as part of our kind of the rich musical history that the 20th century gave us.
Yeah. Well, such a treat then to be able to hear that work in this context, and also to remind our viola players that they are just as much part of the musical family, if not more, as the threads, the glue binding together in some ways these more glamorous concerti and instruments.
What's so amazing about now in music and maybe in life is that we're letting go of these old-fashioned ideas that something is one thing or the other.
Yeah.
And we celebrate individuality. And why should an instrument be any different?
Absolutely.
So the voice of the viola was always what I loved. I never played the violin, didn't care about playing the violin.
It was Brahms you mentioned in your talk that was the inspiration.
I heard that amazing Brahms theme, and I thought that's the sound for me. And I think that the more we encourage young people actually to follow the sound that they love, not just play an instrument because it's somehow more virtuoso than the other. And we also celebrate that diversity on stage, which is something that's wonderful about this festival, right? That we're hearing so many different soloists who are bringing their very best and their own personalities.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of refer to those stereotypes as kind of a talking point, of course, and a way maybe to draw in the audience, but it's probably becoming less and less appropriate to refer to those. And as you say, things are changing as well. And is this something you notice, perhaps especially amongst younger musicians, that all of these preconceptions are falling away or no longer exist? Everything is becoming much more equal, sort of respected. The individual is what's the most important, but also, as we were saying earlier, the shared beauty and quality.
Yeah, I think it's about reaching people. I think it's about that whatever you're giving on the stage should move somebody or give them something. And I think a great musician is somebody who finds their voice through an instrument to a listener. And in my mind, that can be anything, right? That can be any instrument or your own voice. There's you can go on YouTube now, and maybe the internet is the great giver to us, because we've seen so many people in so many places do incredible things, like with spoons or with anything that they find, and they're great musicians.
Absolutely.
So let's never limit people, I think.
Yeah, communication is almost a synonym for musician in a way. That's kind of what it is all about, and as you say, moving people as well, and the passion and the humanity, and what an amazing platform this festival is for helping especially younger musicians to realize that and grow personally and musically.
For sure.
You play a very special instrument, don't you? Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
I actually play one of the oldest violas in existence, and I don't know if people know, but actually the violin is not the oldest instrument. Long before the modern violin, we had this family of violas. So there was viola da braccia, which is what you held in your arms, and viola da gamba, gambas which legs in Italian. And so my instrument is actually something that was a Renaissance instrument. It was made in 1589 and in northern Italy. And as music became more complicated, originally that instrument was huge, and people couldn't play modern music on such a big instrument. So it was cut down in the 18th century. And you can actually see the back of it where, somebody did amazing work to make this a smaller instrument. But it is an incredible thing to carry around the world on my back.
And you've obviously developed a very close relationship to this instrument. Does it feel strange, almost like you're cheating in a musical sense when you play on another instrument?
I almost never do. I mean, so I guess we developed such a close relationship. It's like a person, and it is an organic object. So the wood itself, it learns to vibrate to my unique signature, like my pattern of vibration. And in that way, I think a lot of string players, we don't like other people spending much time playing on our instruments, because the instrument itself will change. And how magical is that? So it's like a marriage, I guess, and it takes quite a lot of time to get to know the instrument, for it to evolve towards you and you to evolve towards it. But that's part of the magic of playing these amazing old things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. I mean, I'm a keyboardist myself, and of course, almost all of our instruments are shared. The instrument, well, as in the case of yours, is going to outlive us, of course, but we need to adapt very quickly to whatever instrument we find ourselves having to play. Jennifer, after SICMF, what's next on your lineup? Any highlights for the rest of the year that you're looking forward to? Yeah,
I'm actually headed Monday to Rio de Janeiro to play Bartók Concerto again.
Okay.
And then Illumina is about to make its first big European tour, so we'll be playing in the Concertgebouw in Amsterdam and have a residency in the Edinburgh Festival. So can't wait for those things.
Amazing. Yeah. Very, very busy time. May I ask you a couple of very quick fire questions? Okay. This is what I've been doing to some of the others. You have to respond immediately, commit,
Ready.
But then give us a reason for your answer. So, Bach or Brahms is the first one.
Oh, goodness.
Sorry.
I bet everybody hated that question. I guess for the violist, the answer is Brahms.
Yes, I suppose so. more difficult if you're a cellist or a violinist, perhaps. Mozart or Mendelssohn?
Mozart.
No question.
No question.
Okay.
Though I still love you, Mendelssohn.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And Schubert, Schumann?
Schubert.
Yeah. Okay, that was easy.
Yeah.
Can you give a reason for that last?
I mean, Schubert is just like to me the most human composer ever. Like if I had to choose one composer who I wanted to live with every day for the rest of my life, it would be Schubert.
What do you mean by most human?
I just think that he had this amazing way of expressing just human emotions and in the kind of personal sense, whereas Bach maybe is the composer who is closest to God.
Perhaps.
And there's something perfect about it. Schubert is not that guy. Schubert is the person who understood what you really felt.
Right.
And in that way, I feel this personal relationship with him.
Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us now,
Pleasure.
for sharing your artistry and eloquence. So grateful to have you here at the festival. Fingers crossed for Sunday and beyond. Let's have a look at what is going on elsewhere in the conserve. So, Jason, over to you for a moment or two.
Hi there, John. I'm standing with Ryan and I'm standing with Cody. They are actually ushers here at the festival. And for those of you who don't know, majority of the ushers and the backstage personnel are actually made of students here at the conservatorium here in Stellenbosch. And Ryan, how has your journey been so far here at the festival? This is your first year actually working here. So what's the vibe like here?
Nah, definitely this is my first year working here and I can't say it's actually been I'm pleasantly surprised about how good it was so far. Personally, I enjoy working. I was working with the wine the other day, and I won't lie, just working with the wine, I've met so many people, foreigners, people from all over the country. I'm thinking like, I should definitely come here more in the future. It's a good time. Overall positive experience. Really.
And Cody, have you made any connections with international staff members, international students?
So yes, definitely, I did. So I'm part of the Backstage crew. And we get to work with all the artists from all over the country, all over the world, and it's quite interesting to meet some of them because their personalities are always different from each other. So like one would be very serious, and the rest of them would just be clowns completely. Again, they would just be crazy and going ham at the back. But other than that, it's great to us, making great friends and all that. And we see some of them over and over every year, and then some other years you see more and other different people and all those kind of stuff. So it's always great to do that.
And I just want to say thank you on behalf of the festival and of all the patrons of the festival. Thank you for your hard work, because without you guys, we wouldn't have this smooth transition between the first half's interval and the second half of the program. So thank you so much. As you can hear, the bell is ringing, so it means you guys need to get back to work. And while you guys get back to work, I'm going to take it back to you, John.
Thanks so much, Jason. And as you mentioned, it really is a team effort, this. Not just the musicians on stage, it's everyone who's involved in bringing the music to life, which are all the people behind the scenes or front of house here in the conserve. So now we come to the second half of tonight's concert and to a piece that I've particularly been looking forward to. I especially love the first movement of this work. It has a very primal energy. It's by Alexander Borodin, who lived from 1833 to 1887. And he was a member of a group known as the Mighty Handful, or the Five, a group of Russian nationalist composers who crafted a romantic vision of music inspired by the folklore and folk music of their native land. Other members of this group included Cesar Cui, Modest Mussorgsky, Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov, and Mili Balakirev. Now, this work was composed between 1869 and 1876, and it's typical in its use of Russian folk elements. It also exemplifies broader romantic technical trends, such as the reuse and reworking of themes across multiple movements, the musical organicism that was so beloved of 19th century composers. Now, for the sharp-eared in the audience, the symphony has melodic content in common with Prince Igor, the opera on which Borodin was working simultaneously. Work on this symphony dragged on for several years, not only because of other projects, but also because Borodin's primary occupation was not as a composer. He was a trained physician and also a chemist of significant renown. And in addition to publishing scientific papers on chemistry, in the midst of writing the Second Symphony, he was also involved in the founding of a medical school for women. Well, we had a Star Wars moment here at the Sicmf last night with a percussion adaptation of the clapping music by American minimalist composer Steve Reich, preceded by these generous words by our faculty percussionist Javon Gillian.
But what you're about to see now is something very unique. We're going to have the their world debut percussion debut of 7 of you guys' favorite non-percussion Stellenbosch faculty. So we have Nina, Peter, Suzanne, Dwight, Jeff, Ivy, Mark, and Madeline are all going to have their world premiere on percussion and clapping music. This is going to be great. The rehearsal this morning went great. We hope you guys enjoy it. I love being here. This is the best, most energetic crowd that I have been around in a long time. So when they come out, I want you guys to give them all the love. Hope you guys enjoy it. This is Steve Reich's clapping music.
And if you'd like to watch the rest of that clip, you must go onto our live stream from yesterday evening, the 7th faculty concert of 2024. Very, very cool, the way Reich's rhythms come and go in sort of constructive, destructive interference. And eventually, the very final beats of the piece, everything is synchronized and comes together. As we are going to hear in this next concerto, or symphony, I should say, with everything being synchronized and coming together. There's the cue from the oboe of the Festival Symphony Orchestra to tune up in this performance that we're going to hear of this very great Symphony No. 2 by Borodin in 4 movements. And it's one of these strange cases in musical history where I'm not sure I've even ever heard the first symphony by Borodin. It's the second that has really captured the imagination of musicians and audiences. It's in 4 movements, and as you heard me mention a few minutes ago, very much inspired by Russian folk tunes and melodies that sort of reappear throughout the work. And so the 4 movements are Allegro moderato, and then a fast scherzo, molto vivo, then the slower andante 3rd movement, and the finale is marked Allegro, quick or fast. And so here's our concertmaster for this symphony. And as soon as the conductor Michael Repper has entered the hall, I'm going to dash inside to go and listen to this work because it's magnificent. I'll see you on the other side. Let us know in the comments what you think, and don't forget to tag us at Sicmf 2024. And so this is the Festival Symphony Orchestra ending off this 8th evening concert with the 2nd Symphony by Alexander Borodin in 4 movements. Enjoy the musical journey. A movement that must surely be depicting great celebration there. The culmination of the symphony by Alexander Borodin, Symphony No. 2 in B minor, from that very warlike first movement through to the lovely lyrical second and third movements, the staccato, all conducted by Michael Repper here, the Festival Symphony Orchestra playing at the 2024 Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival. And the audience on their feet, and now, like all good conductors do, Maestro Repper highlighting those players who made a significant contribution to tonight's performances, from the winds to the horns. The whole wind section. And the brass, of course, especially in that first movement. And the strings, I thought they were very impressive. Very sweeping, lush sound, this whole evening's program. A treat to have so many young players on the stage. And the concertmaster and the whole Festival Symphony Orchestra here at the 19th Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival, conducted by first-timer at this festival, American Mike Repper. And what a great program. I think so nicely balanced. That Mexican start, the Brahms double concerto, and then this majestic symphony by Borodin, his most important large-scale contribution to the orchestral repertoire. What a great opportunity for all the students. Best bit is we get to hear it again on Sunday, but it seems like we'll be hearing something something before then. Well, that was a nice cherry on top for us, a cheeky little encore there, the last few minutes of the final movement of that second symphony by Alexander Borodin, Mike Repper and the Festival Symphony Orchestra here at the Sicmf, coming to you live from Stellenbosch, South Africa. Great atmosphere here in the Endler Hall, and Mike Repper, the conductor, looks positively drenched after that workout of the performance. Nothing like heavily romantic music to get the blood pulsing. Well, that's it for our first orchestral concert here at the 2024 Sicmf. Grammy-winning visiting conductor Mike Repper led the Festival Symphony Orchestra in a great program of music by a Mexican composer, Revueltas, followed by the two big symphonic Bs, Brahms, his double concerto, and Borodin's second symphony. And incidentally, you'll be able to hear the Borodin again on Sunday late afternoon as the final work in this year's Chamber Music Festival. Now, the Festival Concert Orchestra will be on the stage in the Endler tomorrow at 8 for music by Rossini, Khachaturian, and Dvorak, all conducted by Simeone Tartaglione. And of course, we have our student ensemble concerts tomorrow at 1 p.m. and at 5 p.m., a viola masterclass at 3 o'clock, and then a conversation between Jennifer Stumm and Mike Repper, both of whom we've seen a lot of tonight, at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. Just 2 days of chamber music magic left at this year's Sicmf. Don't miss out. And so until tomorrow night, this is John Woodland and the team signing off. Take care and good night.